Bonjour tout le monde, ici Kefren. Aujourd'hui, je vous fais une petite vidéo sur comment optimiser EA Sport FC 24. Donc, on va commencer par les meilleurs paramètres de Windows et par la suite, on va aller à l'intérieur du jeu. So now the best setting for Windows for gaming. So first of all, we're going to search for game mode in the search bar. Make sure that game mode is activated for the past year. It's pretty good. You're getting a decent performance and you're going to make sure that all your resources are focused on the game that you're playing. For the Xbox game bar, I still recommend to deactivate this one, causing stuttering, crashing in some games. So I'm not a huge fan of the Xbox game bar. And for the capture, make sure that the background recording is at off and also the recorded audio is at off. Another thing that I recommend, it's the hardware accelerated GPU scheduling. Make sure that you're searching for graphics setting. You will need an NVIDIA card, 1000 series or more recent. It will really help with bottlenecks. So if you have a 1050, 1050 Ti, 1060, even the 2060, you can expect a nice 2 to 5% boost. And also you can expect less stuttering when you're using that. So I really recommend to use that. Another thing that is really important, it's your driver. Make sure that you have the latest driver from AMD, NVIDIA, even Intel if you have an iGPU on your processor. So for an example here with AMD, you just click check for update and it's gonna show you if you have the latest one. You can do the same thing with NVIDIA. Another thing that I can recommend with the NVIDIA and AMD, they have an image scaling for the past a couple of months. From AMD, it's called Super Resolution, and for NVIDIA, it's NIS. I have dedicated video who's gonna show you how to use that and how to configure it. But to explain you quickly what it's about, so you need to enable this. So for example, I'm playing in 2K because my monitor is in 2K. I'm going inside of my game. I lower the resolution at 1080p, and the software will scale it back at 2K. And with this process, I can save 15-20% in my FPS. Also, you can do it if you have a 4K monitor and you want to do 1080p or 2K. You can expect a nice boost. The image quality will not be the same if you compare with native, but in some game it's working very well and it's very tough to see the difference. So I recommend to use it if you're struggling with your FPS. So if you have an NVIDIA card, just go on your NVIDIA setting, go to control panel, open it, go to manage 3D setting, and just use pretty much the setting that I'm currently using. Honestly, they're pretty much default. So the first one that you need to change is your low latency mode. If you have this technology, make sure that it's at on. The other one is if you want to lock your FPS, for an example, you have a 170 Hz monitor and you want to stay in your G-Sync range, you just put your FPS here at something like 167, something like that. You want to be under 170 Hz to always stay in your G-Sync range. So if you want to do that, it will do that for all your game. It's a global setting over there. So I'm gonna unlock it, and this is pretty much it. If you have access to the change ECC state, I recommend to uncheck it. This will slow your VRAM, so you don't want to use that. For change resolution, make sure that you're playing native. So if you have a 2K monitor, go with 2K. If you have a 1080p monitor, go with 1080p. And super important, look at your refresh rate. A lot of people are missing this step. They buy a new screen and by default it's at 60. So use the maximum refresh rate that is available on your monitor. The last parameter will be your G-Sync. So I recommend, if you want to use G-Sync, I recommend to, first of all, you need to enable it, and I recommend to use the enable for window and full screen. So if you're playing a game like in borderless mode, it will be applied. Also, you can select just one display screen depending on whatever. If your second screen is not compatible with G-Sync, you will just push it to one monitor. Me, I'm not using it. I have a 4090 for my GPU, so I just want to unlock my FPS. So in majority of the game, I'm getting 250 FPS, and my monitor refresh rate is at 170 Hz. So I just want to lower my input lag, so that's why I just unlock everything, but it really depends on your situation. So this is pretty much it for NVIDIA. Another thing that I recommend, it's your energy profile. So write energy in your search bar, go to power option. Make sure that you're running something like balance or high performance. On a desktop computer, it should not be an issue, but if you're playing on a laptop, really make sure that you're using that or a special profile for performance from your brand like Asus, Dell, or whatever. The thing is, sometimes when you plug your PC in the wall, unplug, using it with the battery, sometimes it stay at power saver and you don't want to use that when you're playing a game. So super important to be plugged in and also to use a proper performance profile. Another thing that I can recommend, it's the Intelligent Standby List Cleaner. This is a software made by the guy from DDU. It's pretty amazing, honestly. It will help if you don't have a lot of RAM in your PC. So if you have 4 gig of RAM, 8 gig, 12 gig, after that, you should be fine. Windows is doing the job properly. So it will free memory and it's gonna make sure that it optimizes your standby list. So what I recommend normally, it's look at your total memory here. In my case, it's 32. Just divide it by 2. So for me, it's 16. Just press start and it will run automatically. And you just lower the software like that and you're gonna make sure it's optimized. So it's a really good software and also it helps a little bit with stuttering. So I really recommend to use that. One last thing is I have dedicated video on my channel about overclocking CPU, overclocking GPU, depending on your brand and stuff. And it's pretty good because there are basic overclocking guide. I don't touch voltage, so it's pretty safe. You can expect sometimes 2% to 10% boost in your FPS depending on your thermal, depending on your component, but it's something that you need to look at too if you want to optimize your PC for the best performance. So now let's go inside of the game. So first of all, go to display configuration. We're gonna go to resolution. Make sure that you're playing native. So if you have a 1080p monitor, make sure that you are in 1080p. If you are like a 4K monitor, just make sure that you're using the 4K resolution. Display mode, super important to use full screen. Don't use anything else. It's causing stuttering. You don't want that. Refresh rate, make sure that you're using the highest one. It's pretty dumb that it's blocked at 120 Hz. Me, I'm using a 240 Hz monitor and I can't use the maximum amount of my refresh rate. But for example, if you have something more than 60, make sure that you're using the 120 over there. For the frame rate limit, I don't limit my FPS. I want the maximum FPS, so just unlock your FPS. If you have issue with thermals and you don't have like a crazy monitor, for example, you're playing on a laptop and you have a 60 Hz monitor, don't go too crazy with the frame rate. You can have like stuttering if you have thermals issues. For vertical sync, I just put this one at off. I don't want to add any input lag in my game. You can also use other technology like FreeSync and G-Sync if you have them. If you don't like tearing, you can definitely activate your vertical sync, but like I said, you will add input lag in your game. Dynamic resolution scale, don't use that. You don't want your resolution changing on the fly depending on what you're currently doing. Cutscene quality, not really important. Normally I just use the full frame rate, but honestly you can use half frame rate if you want to make sure that your thermals are good, but it doesn't affect your gameplay. It's just for cutscene. After that, you have the base air. You have a couple of options. You have auto, off, and on. I really recommend to go with off. Honestly, you will get a nice 5 to 6% boost in your FPS, and you don't really care about this effect. You just want pure performance, so that's why I recommend to go with off. Rendering quality, I recommend to go with medium. Not a huge difference between medium and low. If you look at your FPS, it's like 2% difference, but you're getting a better visual. But after that, when you go at high or ultra, you're gonna lose 4 to 5% for each bracket. So my recommendation is play at medium. Same thing with grass. Not a huge difference between low and medium. I saw 1% difference in your FPS. But when you go at high and ultra, you can like lose 2 to 3%. So that's why my recommendation is go with medium. You will have a decent visual and you will have a nice boost in your FPS. The last one is crowd quality. This one tank your FPS like crazy. If you compare ultra to low, you can expect 15% boost in your FPS. So that's why I just recommend go with low. You don't really care about the crowd. You just want performance because you want to be the best in the world at FIFA. Sorry, I meant FC24, and that's pretty much it. If you have any question about this guide, just comment in the YouTube section, post me your rig, CPU, GPU, and RAM. I will try to help you the best that I can, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Peace!